This Harley is too much? The 2026 Breakout 114 is breaking every rule and most insane. What happens when a motorcycle stops trying to fit in and starts demanding all the attention instead? The 2026 Harley-Davidson Breakout 114 doesn't just enter the scene, it explodes into it. This isn't a subtle cruiser. It's not trying to please everyone. And that's exactly why people can't stop talking about it. The moment you lay eyes on it, something clicks. This bike isn't built for compromise. It's long, it's low, it's aggressive in a way that feels almost excessive. And yet, that excess is exactly the point. Harley-Davidson didn't design this machine to blend into the background. They built it to dominate it. But here's where things get interesting. Beneath that bold, almost intimidating design lies a motorcycle that's far more complex than it first appears. Riders who expected style over substance are starting to realize there's something deeper going on here. Something that challenges the idea of what a cruiser should be. And that's raising a serious question across the riding community. Is this the ultimate expression of Harley attitude, or is it something entirely new? Because once you start looking closer, the 2026 Breakout 114 begins to reveal layers that most people never saw coming. And trust me, what's underneath might surprise you more than the way it looks. Let's be honest. Design is where the 2026 Harley-Davidson Breakout 114 hits hardest, and it doesn't hold back. Everything about this bike feels exaggerated in the best possible way. The stretched wheelbase, the massive rear tire, the raked-out front end, it all comes together to create a silhouette that looks like it was pulled straight out of a custom show, not a factory line. And yet, it's real, it's rideable, and it's turning heads everywhere it goes. But here's the part most people miss. This design isn't just about looks, it's about presence. When you ride this bike, you don't just move through traffic. You own the space around you. Every stoplight becomes a stage. Every glance from a passerby reinforces the same idea. This is not a normal motorcycle. And that's exactly what Harley wanted. They didn't just build a cruiser. They built an experience that starts before the engine even fires up. But that kind of bold design comes with a question. Is it all show, or is there real substance behind it? Because in a world where style can sometimes overshadow performance, the Breakout 114 has a lot to prove. And as it turns out, it's more than ready for that challenge. Now let's talk about what really defines the 2026 Harley-Davidson Breakout 114, the engine. Because this is where things go from impressive to downright addictive. The Milwaukee 8 114 V-twin doesn't just deliver power, it delivers attitude. The moment you twist the throttle, you feel it. A deep, commanding surge that pulls you forward with authority. It's not subtle, and it's definitely not shy. But here's the twist. Despite all that raw energy, the power delivery feels surprisingly controlled. It's not chaotic or unpredictable. Instead, it's smooth, deliberate, and incredibly satisfying. That balance is what makes this engine so special. It gives you the thrill without the fear. And that's a rare combination, especially in a bike that looks this aggressive. It's the kind of performance that makes you want to keep riding, to keep pushing, to see just how far it can go. And every time you do, it rewards you with more. More sound, more sensation, more connection. It's not just about speed. It's about how the bike makes you feel while you're getting there. And once you experience that, it's hard to settle for anything less. But here's where things start to get really interesting. Because the 2026 Harley-Davidson Breakout 114 isn't just about straight-line performance, it's about how it handles the real world. And this is where expectations start to shift. At first glance, you might assume that a bike with this kind of stretched-out geometry would struggle in tighter situations. But that's not entirely true. While it's not built for aggressive corner carving, it offers a level of stability and predictability that makes it surprisingly manageable. The low center of gravity helps keep things balanced, even at slower speeds. And once you get used to its dimensions, it starts to feel more natural than you'd expect. It's not about quick transitions. It's about smooth, controlled movement. And that changes the way you ride. You start to anticipate the road differently, to flow with the bike instead of fighting it. And that's where the real enjoyment comes from. It's not trying to be something it's not. It embraces its identity fully, and in doing so, it creates a riding experience that feels unique, focused, and incredibly satisfying. Comfort on the 2026 Harley-Davidson Breakout 114 is a bit of a paradox, and that's what makes it so fascinating. On one hand, this isn't a touring bike. It's not designed for endless highway miles with maximum cushioning and wind protection. But on the other hand, it doesn't punish you either. The seat is supportive, the riding position is stretched but manageable, and the overall ergonomics feel more refined than you might expect from a bike that looks this extreme. It's the kind of setup that encourages shorter, more intense rides rather than long-distance journeys. And that's not a flaw, it's a deliberate choice. This bike is about moments, not mileage. It's about the feeling you get when you're out on the road, not how far you can go in a single day. And once you understand that, everything starts to make sense. Because the Breakout 114 isn't trying to be practical, it's trying to be unforgettable. And in that regard, it succeeds in a way that few bikes can match. Let's talk about presence. Because the 2026 Harley-Davidson Breakout 114 might have more of it than almost anything else on the road. This is a bike that doesn't just get noticed, it gets remembered. The wide rear tire alone is enough to stop people in their tracks. Add in the stretched frame, the minimalist bodywork, and the unmistakable Harley styling, and you've got a machine that feels larger than life. But here's the thing, that presence isn't just visual, it's emotional. When you ride this bike, you feel different, more confident, more connected, more aware of every moment. It changes the way you experience the road. And that's something you can't measure with specs or numbers. It's something you have to feel. And once you do, it becomes addictive. Because no matter how many bikes you ride after this, few will leave the same impression. And that's what makes the Breakout 114 so special. It's not just a motorcycle. It's an experience you don't forget. Now here's the question a lot of riders are asking. Who is the 2026 Harley-Davidson Breakout 114 really for? Because this isn't a one-size-fits-all machine. It's bold, it's unapologetic, and it demands a certain kind of rider. Someone who values style as much as performance. Someone who doesn't mind standing out. In fact, they prefer it. This bike isn't about blending in with the crowd. It's about leading it. And that means it's not going to appeal to everyone. But that's exactly the point. Harley didn't build this bike to be safe. They built it to make a statement. And for the right rider, that statement is everything. It's a reflection of personality, of attitude, of a willingness to do things differently. And in a market full of predictable options, that kind of individuality is incredibly powerful. There's also something to be said about how the 2026 Harley-Davidson Breakout 114 fits into the bigger picture of Harley-Davidson's lineup. This isn't just another model. It feels like a symbol, a representation of where the brand is willing to go and how far it's willing to push its own boundaries. It shows that Harley isn't afraid to experiment, to evolve, to challenge its own identity. And that's a big deal, because for a brand with such a strong heritage, change doesn't come easily. But when it does, it tends to make an impact. And that's exactly what's happening here. The Breakout 114 isn't just keeping up with the times, it's helping to define them, and that's something worth paying attention to. Of course, no bike is perfect, and the 2026 Harley-Davidson Breakout 114 is no exception. Its bold design and focused purpose mean there are trade-offs. It's not the most practical bike for everyday commuting, and it's not built for long-distance touring. But here's the thing. It doesn't need to be. Because that's not what it's trying to do. This bike is about impact, about creating a moment every time you ride it. And in that sense, it delivers exactly what it promises. It's a reminder that not every motorcycle has to be practical to be valuable. Sometimes, the most memorable experiences come from machines that prioritize emotion over efficiency. And that's exactly what this one does.